Iniyolashomi, and these are the ways they cover me. Poetry for me was an avenue to understand my interiority and my exteriority, right? To explore myself, to explore the world, the variety, the beauty, the good, the bad, and everything in between. I never second-guessed myself. I never had esteem issues. I never had identity crisis because my parents from a very young age were very clear about making sure their children knew that they were treasured, their children knew who they were, their children knew that they were loved by God, right? So our faith was very, very defined. For anyone who's going to birth anything worthwhile, anything to be remembered, anything beautiful, anything successful, anything life-changing, you must give yourself the pressure of creativity, the pressure of maintaining your identity, the pressure of being God's chosen mouthpiece. And that's when it became a calling. That's when it became more than me. That's when it became a gift in God's hand that I had to use to serve Him. That's when it became worship.
Seasons that have been most challenging or very overwhelming. How do you face those seasons head on, and what are like your strategies that you use to go through it and to still come out with that drive to keep on pursuing the vision, pursuing purpose?
Off the top of my head,
Hi, Oreoluwa.
hello, Joshua.
Welcome to Amazing Excellence with Joshua Rani.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Awesome, welcome. So a lot of people are told to just pick one career path. Maybe if you are going to do something professional, just do just that alone. And coming from the Nigerian context, a lot of Nigerian families or parents will even they have some set of courses that they want you to do, right? And you doing one of them, but then you also have these creative expressions that you've also been pursuing. Has there been any time when you felt like dropping one and just focusing on just one alone?
No. I think right from when I was young, I've always known I was meant to be a lawyer and meant to be a poet. Like those are the two things I had a very strong conviction for, and I never saw them as competing with one another. I never saw them as one being my main job and then the other being like a side job or anything. Just two things I knew I was supposed to be very committed to and given to. And that's the way I've always viewed them. That's the way I've always pursued them. That's the way I always, carry them. And that's the way I've also been encouraged to relate with them. I think growing up, my parents very much knew, this girl wants to be a lawyer. She's very committed to that. But then they also helped me discover like my creative abilities, and they also nursed that. And they've just always encouraged me to be all that I can be, right? All my siblings, all of us, they've told us you can be everything. And I think just watching my parents as well be many things taught me that you can wear many hats and wear them well. So you don't have to be one or the other. Even God, who we are created in His fashion, there's God the Father, there's God the Son, there's God the Holy Spirit, His friend, His comforter, His healer. So we were created to be very dynamic as human beings, right? And just being a multi-potentialite that I am, I wear many hats as a mother, as a lawyer, as a poet. Oh yeah, I've already introduced myself.
Yeah, already.
Right. It's just, it feels very natural. It feels like that's what every human being is supposed to be. It's supposed to do. It's supposed to be given to. It feels like that's how every human being was created to express themselves in that diversity of perspective, of vision and dreams, passion and pursuits, right? So while I've never felt like I had to be one or drop one for the other, practically speaking, there are times where you'll be more given to one than the other. There's so many things that I will become, right? I may be wearing 10 hats right now, but there is a version of me that will still maybe wear 20 hats. I still want to, delve into psychology. I still want to be a lecturer, academia. Do you get the 50-year-old version of me will look back at this version of me and be like, yeah, okay, you really thought that you had a lot going on for you, but there's so much more that I'm going to do. There's so much more pursuits that I'm going to give myself. So there's so much more of me that I'm going to become and discover, right? But with life, you have to be wise. You have to be practical. You may have endless passion and desire, but your energy is not infinite. Your resources are not infinite, right? The time, the place that you are, the people that you're surrounded by is not infinite. Like right now, I'm very much giving to motherhood because my baby is at a very, very young age, right? There will be a time where he is much older he's less dependent on me,
You have
and
more
that
time
frees
to be
me
able
up.
to-
Do you get? So right now, your priorities may shift and may differ. There are times where my legal career is thriving more than my literary career because I, for example, need to make money from
So
my
also you
legal
will fund-
career to fund my dreams on my literary career, release an album, pursue my poetry collection and things like that. So it only makes sense that if you want to be able to do them and do them well, doing them well will change. The definition of doing it well per time will also change. So that's just maybe the situation that one maybe gives way to the other, but it's not permanently. And even if it is, then maybe it's time for that thing to step back onto the back burner for a time being, right? In another couple of years, there will be a time where the circumstances align perfectly for that thing to be what now blossoms at a different phase of life. So we often find like young people feeling like, oh, my parents want me to do this and they don't want me to do this. And then if I don't do this, I can never be this. I always encourage them that it's fine to have a focus for now. And you accepting this one as your focus doesn't mean that this one is forever barred.
You can still get to different times where you're able to explore.
Absolutely.
those other
Do you know
passions.
that sometimes it is, I've discovered that my literary career is what's sometimes making my legal career thrive or making me thrive in my legal career. Sometimes doors I've been knocking on with my literary career open and respond to me with my legal career finally. Do you understand?
Yeah.
There are rooms that I want to be in, and I think it's poetry that's going to open the door for me, but it turns out that it's not poetry, it's law, or it's motherhood, or being the wife of an entrepreneur. Do you get? Or being the
Being a
daughter,
recording artist.
being a recording artist, being the daughter of so and so, or do you get what I'm saying? So it's wisdom to embrace your uniqueness and your diversity, but know which one is for this time. And don't be so myopic to think that if you don't have this one and this one at this time, then the option is forever foreclosed. No.
But what a very beautiful way to actually say it, to actually start, right? We'll be
Yeah.
diving into different parts of your journey. But I think one thing that also struck me from what you said is how your parents actually nursed different expressions and
Yeah.
you've also seen them be many things. So
Yeah.
what was growing up like for you? What was that environment like? What did it quietly deposit in you that made you know that I can become much more, I can do this, and really excel at all of them?
I think so. I would say that my both parents gave me the breadth of the perspective that I have. So my dad is a marketing and sales executive, right? And I learned my work ethics, a lot of it from that. He lived the typical traditional 9 to 5 career life, right?
Yeah.
But my mom has been, God, I don't even know where to start. My mom has had many businesses in her lifetime.
Wow.
She's pivoted so many times. I've had to pivot with her because I was her sales girl at different points in time. So just learning that life is not so fastidious. Like you are not exactly fixed in place. I always say that I'm in creative flux, right? Which means that I'm always moving like
In
water.
this season, this is what you are. This is what you're expressing.
We are so, as human beings, we can be so stuck, right? And because we're so stuck, we sometimes forget that it's in that movement that we actually find the most freedom. We find ourselves, we find the beauty of life, and we begin to enjoy life, right? So with my mom, I learned that, she'll wake up in the morning, devotion, we would have devotion, then we'll start getting ready for school. She will remember, everything that the typical African or Nigerian household has, right? With your parents. And then we'll go to school. After school, we'll come to her shop, help her sell. Then, we'll go home in the evening. Then when she's done, she'll close shop, come home, we'll sit down, count the money, then we'll make dinner. And while making dinner, we'll be singing, right? My sister loves telling stories, my little sister. So my mom would encourage her and say, well, tell us one story. My sister is very quick with on her feet, and her imagination was very well. She'll tell us stories while we're cutting onions and, vegetable and things like that. We'll make dinner, sit around the table, eat. There's warmth, there's laughter, there's joy. There's, oh, you did this, you know, you're going to get in trouble. There's discipline. Yeah, so we grew up in that kind of home where creativity was nurtured in just very simple ways. Like my parents were not like, oh, I see in you. In more modern times, we've realized that there are more pathways to success, right? So, for example, you know, parents have a child and they're like, oh, Project Mbappe and things like that. And they begin to put structures in place to nurture those things early. But our parents and their generation, you know, the nurturing was more informal. It was more unstructured, right? But it was still nurturing. And I benefited from that, right? So that kind of allowed me realize that love looks different at different points in time, right? And some of those things that living in such a household deposited in me, it's just great. Like I said, my mom would wake up at 5 a.m. just to put food on the table for our house, you know, make sure that she has devotion with us, go to her shop. Sometimes she would have to go to like Lagos market first to buy, you know, the stock, then go to her shop and all of that. And then we would come home and this man would still come, do homework with us, things like that. So just hard work, the importance and the place of hard work was deposited in me. Things like family, warmth, relationships. My mom had like people around all the time, you know, because she's just a very, very loving people person. Do you understand? And that showed me that there's something we say in Yoruba, you know, I'm Yoruba, and we say in Yolasho, which means like people are close. And interestingly, one of the poems I wrote on my upcoming poetry EP actually starts with that line, in Yolasho me, and these are the ways they cover me. Right? It's such a profound Yoruba proverb, and I really love it. But more than anything, I think in this phase of my life, I've become more aware of what it truly means to have people, to have community, to find love at home, where you're not searching the streets and accepting any form of love that anybody throws your way because you're well loved at home. And that's something I saw growing up. I never second guessed myself. I never had esteem issues. I never had identity crisis because my parents from a very young age were very clear about making sure their children knew that they were treasured. Their children knew who they were. Their children knew that they were loved by God, right? So our faith was very, very defined, right? We're very rooted in our faith, and that helped our journey growing up. Yeah, so those are just some of the things that my household, my parents, my siblings, those are the things that they nurtured in me.
That's such very beautiful seeds that must have been sown. The experience of saying grief practically, seeing how your mom pull stuff together, and also being given that freedom to really pursue stuff, pursue different career. You can be much more, and having that very solid identity. For individuals, especially creative people, there are usually moments where what they express, maybe in terms of poetry, singing, or maybe art, is just like an hobby. But they now get to a point where it now becomes sort of like a calling. Because you know, you mentioned how just speaking that Yoruba face now means much more to you. That oh, people are your clothes. You need people to do stuff. At what point did it go beyond just I just love singing, I just love writing, to feeling that I think there is something much more I can drive, I can influence culture, I can influence people to really achieve much more stuff?
Yeah. So I've always written. I say it that way because I've actually always written. I took to language or English language very quickly, and just like literature. So I was always very good with composition. You know, those essays that you write when you come back from summer holiday and they say, oh, write a descriptive essay
about
about you know, all those kind of things. I was very good at it. I remember just how I was in primary 4 and the yearbook wouldn't go to print because they were still waiting, you know, for my composition, right? So I've always had the gift of the garb, as they say, and just been very an articulate person. I started reading, like I could read newspapers at the age of 4 very fluently, that kind of thing, right? I grew up in a household where we were taught to read and we're allowed to read. Although I used to get in trouble because I would leave my chores and hide
Spend
somewhere
time in
and
books.
read. And then at some point, when reading was banned on like the dinner table, I would be reading whatever it is that calendars, we used to have calendars on the dining tables or cereal boxes, just anything. I would be reading something I read over and over again, just because I was just so, so, so passionate about learning, so passionate about reading. And I continue to write, just writing poetry, writing songs, writing ads, writing every and anything with my siblings. We all had like our journals, our diaries, writing for yearbooks, writing for special occasions. Maybe it was my grandma's birthday and we're having like a party and they'll say, or write poetry for your grandma, just something like that. So those were informal opportunities I had to nurture this gift, to put it to practice, to sharpen the skills, which I didn't know that would eventually turn into all that I am and all that I'm doing today. Now, again, I kept writing for different things. I remember being in high school and I got the opportunity to write for the Commonwealth African essay competition. And I actually took first place.
Wow.
Right. This was in Tanzania. And I just actually started to learn about literature outside of the little exposure I had had to it. And I was in year 10 at this point in time. And I couldn't believe it because I only entered that competition because my literature teacher, Mr. Tom Walbridge, I will never forget him. He had such a positive impact on my life, right? He nurtured that particular trait and basically discovered that, wait, you actually have something here and just try it. And I was like, no, I'm not really. I was new at the school. I wasn't really trying to do the most, but I did. And the whole of Africa, right? And it was just crazy because even up to date, I still struggle to believe it.
I did that.
How did that happen, right? So I think it was then I realized, okay, maybe there's something here. But then I'd never seen a poet. Like obviously you grew up, you read, Chinua Achebe, you hear Wole Soyinka.
But this is something that I can
You never really know how they got there.
Yeah.
You never have heard poetry as a career path. You've never heard anyone around you say, when they ask them the question, what do you want to be? They say poet. No, you hear lawyer, you hear pilot, but you never hear poet. You never hear writer. You never hear, anything creative, so to speak. So it wasn't obvious to me at that very young age then that there was a possible career path here.
Yeah.
It was just something that seemed like a gift that you had. But when I got into university, then I was thrown into a very different world. A world where, while it was the wild card or the extraordinary factor where I was coming from, here was the norm, right? So I went to University of Birmingham, and there was a society for poets. There was society for arts, society for this, the most crazy things, and you would see people literally have writing clubs, poetry clubs. I've never heard things like that. In one of the societies that I was in, GIFT, Growing in Faith and Truth, so it was a Christian society, there was a writer that I discovered, like I had read her work, some of her work online, and then I found out she goes to my school. And not only does she go to my school, she's actually in one of like my societies. So I have such close proximity to her. And then, I spoke to her one of the days, how's this going writing? And she's like, oh, it's really good. She just, gave me some tips and that. I was like, okay, cool. And then I never told her I was a writer. But then one time we had an opportunity to do some work together for the society. So it was like, Christian stuff. And we're going for an event. And then some of my friends were there and they just randomly went to her and was like, oh, do you know that Ore is also a writer? And she's like, really? Let me see some of your work. And then she saw and she's like, you're so good. I was like, wait, what is going on? Like, because all along I've written for myself. Mm-hmm. I never wrote with the perspective of sharing it with anybody. I never wrote with the perspective of doing it for anybody or thinking that anybody would find this valuable enough to pay for it, to want to hear it over and over and over again, or to actually find some sort of impact from it. I just wrote because I was trying to understand my world. Poetry for me was an avenue to understand my interiority and my exteriority, right? To explore myself, to explore the world, the variety, the beauty, the good, the bad, and everything in between. So it was never something external to begin with, anyways,
internally.
until people started reading my work. So that lady who, her name is Mary, she read my work. It was so good. Do you have like a blog? And I was like, no. She was like, wait.
Hi there. I know you're enjoying this episode, but we need you to do something. Please double check if you've subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, click on the subscribe button, like, share, and most importantly, leave a comment. Tell us what you found very insightful, very valuable from this episode so far, or by the time you complete the entire video. Please do that right now. That is one way that it can help us to continue to keep the lights on. Please do that. So you can get right back into the video.
Okay, do you share on YouTube? I'm like, no. She's like, so you mean that no, you don't share your work? I was like, no. She right there and then opened my first blog, my WordPress, right? And she was like, I'm giving you till so and so time. I need to see these amount of posts. I'm going to follow up with you. How many things have you written? And she was just like, share. So I started sharing. And then people started commenting, this blessed me, this touched me, this opened my eyes to realize that my perspective is not this. And slowly I began to see that maybe what I had that I thought was for me could actually serve a grander purpose. But that wasn't, motivation enough for me to start sharing liberally. I was still very uncertain about the path. What exactly was down this path? What did it look like? Until I heard God say to me, I have put my words in your mouth that my people need to hear. And that's when it became a calling. That's when it became more than me. That's when it became a gift in God's hand that I had to use to serve him. That's when it became worship. And then everything else has just happened after that.
That's such a powerful journey of finding yourself and still God leading you to that point of making it very clear that what I've given to you is not just for yourself. It's not just for you to just write, just fun stuff, but there's a bigger purpose.
Yes.
And also having someone to spot that gift very early. We've had one of our guests also talked about how in secondary school, one of his teachers also just found out, he was good in a certain subject, and she just kept on pushing him to do much more. Having those kind of people as strategic phases of your life can really help push you forward and just help you start building. Very, very important. But you've written a lot of pieces, music to different poetry. Is there just one particular one that means so much to you in a different way? Maybe not just, I know all of them are great, right? But maybe in terms of how it came or the kind of impact that it had on people that have listened or experienced it.
Okay. I think that's such a great question. And I'm trying to answer this as honestly as I can. And the honest answer is, the world hasn't heard it yet. The one that means the most to me because it's on my yet to be released poetry EP. And that's coming in May of this year.
8th of May. We are looking for. I'm sure maybe when this episode is out, you must have been out already.
Yes. And it's titled A Nurturer's Tale. And it's a very legacy-defining project for me. It's a culmination of my journey so far. And a bit of a peek into all that is still to come because I am becoming, right? So the poetry, all the tracks on this particular project have become my absolute favorite because they have helped me make sense of the past 6-7 years of doing this. Like I said, when I started, I didn't know there was a path here. I couldn't see the path. I think it's now that it's finally making sense after such a long time, after so much trial and error, after I wouldn't say success, but after so much fear and growth and just perseverance, I think it's now more defined than it has ever been. And not only can I now see the exact marking of the path that led me here, because then the journey here, there were no grid lines.
Wasn't clear.
There were no grid lines. I painted the grid lines, if that makes sense. But now standing here, I can now look back and say, oh, I didn't just wander. I did this with some definition after all. I did this with some clarity after all, even though while going through it, it didn't seem like I did this with some structure and some success after all. And then I can also look forward and say, oh, now I can see exactly how this will turn out, how it can branch off here and branch off there. I can see exactly how somebody like me, who is maybe in her room right now or in his room right now, writing for himself, can one day, when he realizes that he has something powerful that the world needs, can look up and say, oh, because Oreoluwa Macaulay actually has done this. When somebody asks me what I want to be, I will hear people around me say poet, writer, literature enthusiast, and no longer this. And because this is the path I want to pursue, there is definition already. I can look at her trajectory and carve out something unique for myself from here, right? So this project is the coming together of all of that, my growth, my journey, and the legacy that I want to leave behind. It's also about my journey into motherhood. It's about my son, my children to come. It's about just being God's child as well. It's about seeing parenting differently and seeing my parents in another light. Because there's something about becoming a parent yourself.
You now understand things
that
in
they're
a different...
human. You understand that they were going through so much and still had a lot to give you. You know, you understand that there was no manual. There is no manual. You're more gracious, more forgiving, more understanding, right? It also helps situate my relationship with God as God's child. Now, more than ever, I understand the fatherhood of God. Do you understand? So this project is so pivotal in many ways.
So weighty.
Very
we hope that
weighty.
people would be able to pick on all of the value that comes with it.
It's also weighty because it talks about just nurturing yourself, nurturing your vision, nurturing your dreams, not giving up. Not giving up. Like,
those moments will come.
I dare say they will not only come, they would hold you by the throat. There would be the thing around your neck. There would be the obstacle in your path to success. I dare say that they will take more than they give, right? But if you're a nurturer, one thing you must have is conviction. One of the poems on the poetry talks about how you must succumb to pressure. It says for life to be born, there must be pressure. I think we've grown up as right now we're in a world where soft life, soft girl era, people, pressure, far away from me, all of those things, bad energy. But I've come to realize that for life to be born, there must be pressure. And that came from, that realization came from my birthing experience of my son. Because if there was no pressure, he wouldn't be able to be born. That contraction, that pressure that you're feeling internally, like you're going to die, life is being born from that particular harrowing, deathly experience. So for a life to be born, there must be pressure. For anyone who's going to birth anything worthwhile, anything to be remembered, anything beautiful, anything successful, anything life-changing, you must give yourself the pressure. The pressure of creativity, the pressure of maintaining your identity, the pressure of being God's chosen mouthpiece, while making sure that the pressures of the world don't corrupt your message. So you must know how to fight. You must know how to go again, even when there is no reason to, even when there is nothing to encourage that. There are so many times I've been Sarah. Well, before God changed her name, there's so many times I've been Sarah. When God says, I've given you words. I've put words in your mouth and people need to hear. But there is only one person streaming my poem. There are no gigs. There are no performances. There is no audience. No applause. Rather, you're getting torn down. You're getting discouraged. It's very easy to laugh and say, God, how? My womb is barren. I'm 90-something years old, right? But then the God who envisions makes provision. And that's something that keeps me going. When God says, oh, you're going to do this, I say, okay.
Trust.
I did not send myself down this path. And that's one thing that keeps me going, because I was on my own, as I say, jejely, writing for myself. And God said, this can be more. I can use this. I want to use this. I want to use you. So I always subject the gift to the giver of the gift.
Well, he has given the gift, he has planted the idea, he's definitely going to provide for it.
And the provision is not material. I'm not talking about material provision. I'm talking about the courage,
keep going,
the faith, the encouragement, the strategically placed people that you will need. You come out from a deal that you wanted, it didn't close. You're in the bus going home. The person sitting beside you holds your hand and prays with you. You've never met that person before. And that becomes a turning point for the dream that's 10 times bigger than the one that didn't happen. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or the teacher who said, I see something in you. I want you to enter for this competition. Do you get what I'm saying? So that is also God's provision. That is also God's. When people talk about provision, most times they usually think of like the resources in terms of money and things like that. But God also provides the encouragement. He provides the handkerchief that will wipe your tears on the days that you're crying. Yes, he provides everything.
Because you can even see the end. You're at the particular spot in that journey, but he knows that there's something more beautiful, bigger coming. He's going to provide the handkerchief for you to wipe it and strength to keep going.
One thing that keeps me going is I can only see the bridge of my nose. If God has not said this is the end, then there is something beautiful coming. And I must believe that I must survive the now to enjoy that, if that makes sense. So yes, it's night currently, but joy, morning will still come. But if I die in the night, and die here means even just letting the vision die. It means burying your talent. Die here is, a metaphor for just giving up, for throwing in the towel, for not giving it your best. Yes, you don't have the check that can sustain that vision. But with what I have in my hand currently, how do I make the best use of it, right? That's what, when I say death, that's what it means, in this case, right? So, yeah, while I'm dying, but something else is, is being birthed. Something else, life is springing forth. So, yeah.
We started to get already to share what the project is like, but I'm sure it's going to be a life-changing one.
Yes.
I must have been out already. It would be important for you to check it out.
Please stream, leave me a message, tell me what you like about it or don't. I'm very open to any kind of feedback. Yeah.
Talking about your love story.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful one.
Oh, thank you.
Meeting up randomly on Twitter, and from Twitter got to the point of marriage, right? But the part I want to also talk about is like beautiful. People love those kind of stories. Amazing one. But then there's still the part of so ambitious people.
Yep.
That have dreams, that have desires, that have giftings that God wants to use them to impact God wants them to make. What is that partnership like? Very ambitious, but then you're also very deeply supportive of each other. Yeah. You can see the glamour, see it outside. What is it like managing?
That's such a very, very, very important and lovely question. Nobody has ever asked me this question in my life. So I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this because like you said, everybody sees things from the outside in and it can look very fabulous. It can look very synchronized, but it takes a lot of love. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of understanding and acceptance. It takes a lot of stewardship. Again, my favorite word to use right now is nurturing. So allow me, right? It takes a lot of nurturing yourself as an individual, also nurturing your partner because you are stewards of one another as a couple, as a unit, right? My husband is very supportive of my dreams. I'm also very supportive of his dreams. We met each other at the time where nobody knew us, right? Just while still in university. So everything that we both have individually and togetherly, that's another word I like to use, we've both played very, very huge parts in making that a reality. And it's hard. There are days where being given to your purpose may leave little to no time for intimacy, may leave little to no time for connection. But knowing that how connected we are as husband and wife is what sustains everything else that we do from that. So you have to have that priority list or table. You have to know when to say no to some commitments so that you can say yes to those commitments in the future. No. You didn't hear me. You have to say no to certain commitments so that you'll be able to say yes to them in the future, those same commitments. But you say no temporarily so that you can go and nurse yourself and your family, your future. So then you are now refreshed in a way that
To be able to say
yes to them in the future, because those opportunities may come back. It may just be a rescheduling of them. Those opportunities, right? You might be in a better position to now say yes to them after you've taken care of this and that on the home front, on the emotional front. Because one thing that Ori and I are to each other, we are our home. And I didn't say house, because a house is just a building, but home is where the love is, it's where the heart is, it's where the vision, it's where the understanding, the acceptance, the vulnerability is. So it's where the heart is. So when one part of the heart is not doing well, the entire heart is not doing well. It puts pressure on the other part of the heart to have to pick up the slack, right? So we're very mindful of each other, our energy levels. When I say that Ore is, pursuing, he's very busy at work, for example. Oh, it's their busy season towards the end of the year. Yes, I understand you have to do this and I will let you do this, but I'll also be intentional about covering the side of you that, is your blind side. So I will make sure, okay, yes, you will go to work at 6 a.m., but you'll come back at 6 p.m. And between 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., you will sleep. Just sleep. I know, yes, there are deadlines and stuff. I will take his phone and manage all of that so that he can wake up tomorrow and be able to give his best self, give of his best and give his best self to the commitments of the next day. There are times where I have performances and gigs and Ori will hold Joshua and man the home front so that I can go and perform. And that's what it looks like. Where you guys are collaborative, that's what we believe in, collaboration as husband and wife, not competition. Where we complement each other. Where his strengths serve my weaknesses and cover them. And my weaknesses allow his strength to pull me up and cover me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because sometimes we always talk about the strengths, but we don't talk about the weaknesses in a way that highlights the importance. If there is no weakness, there'll be no need for strength. Do you understand what I'm saying? And there is nothing more productive than having two people. The Bible says it, one will chase 1,000. Two will chase 10,000. The only reason that mathematics makes sense is because there are times where, a part of that two may be down, But because of the strength, the capital they've already built, they'll be able to still chase that 10,000. Not because that they will suddenly become some superhero strength, none of that. There is a beauty in just collaboration, and it's one of the biggest things that I've come to understand as a principle of the world and the way the world works, or the way it should. Collaboration has its place, competition has its place, but I will always pick collaboration over competition more than anything because we see it in all of life. The birds collaborate with the sky, the sun collaborates with the earth. Like it's just beautiful.
Feeding off each other's
it's cohesion, it's harmony. That's how it's meant to be. So it's a nurturing, it's stewardship, it's a harmonious relationship, it's acceptance that some days I will be the one bringing in 100% because my partner needs to be able to rest, to be able to come back on the playing board and bring his own 100%, whatever that looks like. Some days it looks like takeouts because everybody's too tired from being very ambitious people. But also it looks like pushing each other. It looks like pushing each other. One thing that we always do is actually assess our goals and how well we're doing it. Not in, okay, everybody sit down. Where's your 100 slide deck on what you've achieved this week or anything like that. But it's being mindful enough to know these are my partner's goals. These are the things that their strengths allow them to do, but these are the things that their weaknesses may prevent them from doing. So how do I complement them in a way that pushes them, but still maintains their individuality, right? Yeah. Something like this is not what I would do. Personally, I'm more behind the scenes person. But my husband, he's very people-centric. He's the reason why I'm here today and I'm loving it. Do you get? So he's like, oh, you're doing something really important. You should talk about it. I'm the kind of person I just want to do. I'm the worker. But you need amplifiers in life. Sure. You need encouragers in life.
That visibility.
Do you get? And he already has it. He loves it. He's teaching me how to use it, how to engineer it, what its place is, things like that. So, but we push each other. We're already quite ambitious, but we still push each other. And pushing each other looks like, doesn't necessarily mean doing more in terms of volume or quantity, but more of quality. So yes, you're doing this, 3 things. You've been doing it at this level for so amount. What other greatness can you unlock here? Have you tried this? Have you tried this?
Share ideas, strategies.
Oh gosh, our house is a constant strategy session, like from everything, because we're just like very creative, very process oriented people, very driven. So every conversation is an iteration, is an improvement on ourselves, on our love, on our family, how we change diapers, everything.
Such beautiful collaboration.
Yeah, like, but sometimes it's hard because sometimes you're just like, can you just leave me?
Let me just do this at my own pace or something.
Yeah. And yes, you will sleep, but you still wake up and face reality. And the good thing is that you know that it's for your good.
Yeah. So in seasons where you face the most, or that has been most challenging or very overwhelming, how do you face those seasons head on, and what are like your strategies that you use to go through it and to still come out still fresh, still with that drive to keep on pursuing the vision, pursuing purpose?
Yeah. Off the top of my head, rest. I discern if it's a season of rest, if I'm being called to rest, or if there's wisdom in resting. And we already live in a world that glorifies rest, but not productive rest. I'm a huge fan of productive rest. So I see rest from God's example. He worked to rest and he rested to work, right? So if life is currently overwhelming, I genuinely assess what needs to be dropped. I genuinely ask myself that question because I think it's hypocritical to not admit that I wear a lot of hats. And that naturally means that there will come times where there will be teething issues. There will be times where suddenly everything is not merging as it usually would. Maybe because of, just more commitments required on one front than the other, changes in schedule, health, challenges, anything at all. So I ask myself, what needs to be dropped, if anything? And because I already have an understanding that just because I'm dropping it now doesn't mean I'm dropping it forever. It's easy to actually answer that question honestly, right? So in seasons of overwhelm, I retreat because I can only give of myself continuously and excellently when I'm filled, when I'm nurtured, when I'm at a place of rest. And that rest could sometimes be emotional rest. It may not necessarily be, physical rest. Where I'm overwhelmed, being overwhelmed is a signal that something is out of order. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that resting is to assess, okay, what is demanding more than it should? What am I not realizing? What have I dropped? What is not as it should be, whether even spiritually. Do you get? Sometimes when I feel that sense of overwhelm, it's an indication also that maybe I've not been as diligent as I should with my spiritual disciplines. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So how I deal with them is just to rest, do a proper assessment of what needs to change, what needs to be dropped, and then implement. And then see those seasons, regardless of whatever I have to do to actually fix the overwhelm, as necessary. But also put in place measures to attend to what may have had to fall off. Do you get what I'm saying? So not that I just ghost and up and leave my responsibilities because I need to rest. That is irresponsible. No, I wouldn't do that. But you will rest in a way that makes sure that you're still being productive, knowing that as you rest, you're giving yourself the opportunity to be a better mother, a more patient wife, a more present lawyer, a more diligent compliance manager. Yeah.
Just rest. In moments when you feel very overwhelmed, just like take time to rest, retreat, having at the back of your mind that you have to be filled to be able to like feel others or to be able to distribute.
And I throw myself into my community. I throw myself into love. I throw myself into creative endeavors. I pursue the things that fill me up and give me sense
Yeah.
of being alive. Do you get? Because most times it's those kinds of seasons are caused by feeling absolutely mechanical or distraught about something or distraught, right? So in those times, I just call my mom, Mom, I'm coming for the weekend. I need your special fried rice. That's my favorite comfort food. Or I call my sister, do you get? Or my husband will just go somewhere, or you just give yourself to community, organize a games night, laugh,
Yeah.
laugh till you are crying, your tummy hurts, pick out your book, write about anything, give yourself to creative pursuits, go see an exhibition, do something you've never done before. Just remind yourself that there is more to life than just surviving. You can thrive.
And sometimes it might take pausing for a while, but then to go back way stronger.
Yeah.
So there may be a young woman or a young lady listening to this conversation that also want to build a successful professional career and also have different creative expressions, but maybe they are being told to just pick one, or they're even struggling with balancing, or they are not even sure if it's possible to be successful in your professional career, be a successful wife, figuring it out, mother, and also having several creative expressions. What would be your advice? What would you want to tell such a person?
Well, to such a person, I'll say it's very possible. One thing I tell myself is you can wear all your hats and wear them well, because wearing them alone isn't enough for me. It shouldn't be enough for you, because we don't do mediocrity over here. So it's important that you also wear them well. But what does it take to wear all your hats and wear them well and to do all and be all? It takes planning. It takes a lot of planning. Gosh, I can't tell you how many lists, to-do lists. Like, I'm a lister. You want to talk to me about anything needs to get done, I bring out a pad, a note,
Put it down.
I just start writing, right? So planning is really where the success lies. My mom always taught me, and this is my favorite saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you really are trying to do something and do it well, it starts with planning, and planning everything to the T. Because planning saves. Like, I can't even emphasize how much it saves money, it saves lives, it saves energy. Planning saves. And planning gives you foresight. That's another thing that can be an obstacle, where you're scared because you don't know what's coming. But when you actually plan, well, obviously, as human beings, we're still limited in our planning. You can still plan and things would not go as planned, right? But to the best of your ability, you plan. It gives you certain comfort and just courage to go, because you've kind of gained the future scenarios out to the best of your ability. So it is possible. You plan, you prepare, you trust God, you do well with what you have currently while hoping and working for what the future can unlock. And you rest in your identity. You are comfortable with yourself and you're truthful to yourself. Not the one that says, yes, you've only achieved one thing today, and then you say, yes, I worked really hard. No, but the truthful stewardship that I'm talking about is one where you are able to tell yourself honestly when you are punching below your weight, if that makes sense, right? And yes, there are times where it's fine to punch below your weight, but if you sense that the season you're in is for more, then give of yourself as much as possible. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Don't wait for people to believe in you. As long as God has said go, and there is a means, it may not be clear. Believe in yourself that there is something that God has deposited in you that is potent enough to achieve, even on the smallest scale, what God has shown you is possible. That you will be a lawyer, or you will be a president, you would be a chairman of many companies and still be a very loving and loved mother, a very loving and loved wife, or whatever it is possible. And lastly, pray. Prayer is the most potent weapon I know. I don't even call it a weapon. I say it's the most potent thing I know. And when I say prayer, I don't mean just structured prayers. As you're in the bathroom crying those tears of pain from being shut down, pray. As you're in the kitchen making breakfast for your family, pray. As you're in the car driving, not knowing what's going to be the outcome of that conversation you're about to have with your boss, pray. Prayer is communication with God. And those things have saved me more than anything else. They've reminded me that I have somebody who looks out for me way more than I can look out for myself. In those moments, I'm reminded that there is someone who cares about me more than I could care for myself.
Yeah. And don't try to figure it out by yourself. Pour it out back to the owner of that dream.
That's why he's God and I am man. I embrace my limitations. You know that scripture that says, boast all the more in your weaknesses. That's me. I boast all the more in my weaknesses. I admit, I accept, I'm very aware of my weaknesses, and I don't run or shy away from them, because I know that the more I do embrace them, the more his strength is being made perfect in me.
Yeah.
So I say, God, I'm clueless, but you are not. You know all things. So come and teach me what I need to know to close this deal. Because if my performance assessment is relying on this, we have to close this deal. Do you get?
Yeah.
God, I've never had to create a pitch deck before in my life, but I want sponsorship for this dream because I don't have all the resources. And while I trust that you will bring my ram while I'm about to spend that last money, just like you brought for Abraham, as I was about to sacrifice Isaac, I will do what I know I can do. Because it is wisdom to do what you know you can do legally, within the ambits of the law and your strength, while waiting for what you know will come. So I will write that pitch deck, send it to Coca-Cola, to Pepsi to sponsor me, but I've never done it before, so come and teach me. That's audacious faith. But it isn't faith without works, because that faith without works is dead. Do you understand what I'm saying? So,
it's a place of trusting, a place of doing what you can do, and still trusting God to do the parts that He cannot
only
do.
He can do.
Only He can do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people fall in that mix or in that situation where they try to either do one of both ends. They try to either focus on the work and think that they can do it all by their own physical strength, or people that will just think that only prayer. No, prayer should give you ideas of even what to do,
Absolutely.
steps to take, audacious faith. You are taking action, or you are trusting that God is there for you.
I've dreamt and seen agreements and things that I need to draft and do you understand? Like, God is that strategic, He's that creative, He's that intentional. So I don't do God's job. I've made it my life's mission to not do God's job. I do my part and I leave the rest to Him. But human beings struggle to know where the line is between when it's God and when it's us.
It was beautiful and very insightful. Thank you so much for sharing. Even a very insightful and inspiring conversation.
Thank you.
When we zoom out several years to this time, what kind of impact do you hope that your work, whether in the legal profession or as a poet, as a recording artist, would have made on the continent or even on the world at large?
Okay, so I've been recently nursing this dream where I want to be a mirror of possibilities. I think more than anything, that's the kind of impact that I want to leave. To just be a reminder that it is possible to be purposeful and soft and thriving in every area of your life. I want to be a reminder to people in the things that I do, in the things I do not do, in what I say, in the things I do not say, my actions and inactions, my speech, my thought, every part of me, in the things that I put out and share with the world, that you can live for God and He will make your life count. That this is what God can do with your yes. And it will ring true spiritually, culturally, socially, and every otherly. Do you get what I'm saying? That you can impact industries from a very small place. That you can change the world from a corner of a jiggle, right? I want to be a reminder of everything good and godly, what it looks like to be a thriving woman, what it looks like to wear all your hats and wear them well. I want my work to be a mirror of God and His design, right? And my work includes my children. Right. I want them to be a mirror of God and His design to their world. It looks like my marriage, reminding people that you can marry well. Right. Everything that I create, everything that I do, I want it to just mirror God and mirror His intention for our world. I think that's the summary.
Mirror of possibilities, mirroring God just like his design. And when we really take time out to look at God's design, you will see how, first, even from us, and then to every other one of his
So
creations,
deep,
amazing,
so perfect,
very, very detailed.
infallible.
Several months ago, we were reading, I think, is it Genesis, Exodus, and some early part, and I think maybe Leviticus, where you are saying how God gave instructions on maybe how to even build the temple. You see how he went into detail of, I want this. And if he could do that, also he's very intentional about what we also do through him in our careers. He's also very detailed. He wants us to be the very best version of ourselves.
Yes.
And I think what you just said really captures what God wants us to be, and what we can actually do through him. Beautiful. Is there any other thing you'd love to wrap up this episode with?
Stream A Nurturer's Tale.
It's out already. Check it on your favorite platform.
Yes, tell me what you like. Tell me your favorite track. But most importantly, don't forget to nurture yourself. It's very important. Stewardship is a beautiful, productive thing. Stewarding children, stewarding yourself, stewarding a dream, a vision, stewarding relationships, stewarding your legacy, stewarding your emotions. Yes, it's an uphill battle, but it's worth it. It's so pivotal, so important. And I hope that you know you're not alone in anything. And I pray that you utilize the grace of God upon your life to its maximum. And I pray that you embrace community, because God has put amazing people in your life that are willing to support you. And I hope that you're one of those people too, that you yourself ensure that you become, a conduit of God's blessing to your world, to the people he has surrounded you by. And you can wear your hat and you can wear them well.
Thank you so much, Oreoluwa. I absolutely love the conversation. And I hope that our listeners on whatever platform they are listening to this must have enjoyed the episode and found it really, really valuable. Steward your gift. Yeah, be that conduit of God's blessings, God's ideas, even in the world, and go on to do amazing exploits. We are rooting for you, and God much more is also rooting for you. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye for now.